Not live yet, are we? When we get live, we have to talk about that debacle. Tell us when we're live, Courtney. What?
Don't worry, lads. I'm Yaff, and it's my Gaff, and these are just for show.
Hey, look, welcome. We're trying to keep it upbeat. Welcome to Boro Chat here at the heart of the international circuit for talent, which is the S1 E12 Social Club. Now, we're in the Brum Club, and I've got the Teesside Rambler and the one, the only, our very special guest, Mr. Adam Bragg. Adam, how are you, lad?
I've been a lot better, mate.
Yeah. Look, we're trying to keep it upbeat, and Phil, look at Phil. Does he want me to come to him, Phil? So, anyone know my code for the phone? There. We've got a couple of things to talk about. Look, we're going to talk about Bolton. I was there, all right, and we've sort of gone from the I'll say euphoria, because the first half was rubbish, which we're going to talk about, and the second half seemed that it was a one-sided affair. And then we're going to come on to the debacle, which was Saturday, which is chalk and cheese for me. So we've got a lot to talk about. I can see that we're live, and I can see there's a few people watching. Oh. You turn your phone down, lad. Turn your phone down, lad. Yeah. All right. So look, before we go any further, I've mentioned the club. Let's mention the sponsors. Should we mention the sponsors, Phil?
No, you forgot last week, didn't you?
I did. Who sponsors again? BT Promotions. Tony at BT Promotions, look, thank you very much for all your sponsorship. Don't forget, if you need any trophies, and you all know BT Promotions are, because it's the biggest Flamingo Land football festival. It's the biggest festival in the country. You know, he's got, I go there, how long have we been going there now? Must have been going 6 or 7 years now with all the Teesside Rangers teams, and went with our Jesse's little Normanby team last season, this year. Fantastic as always. So look, BT Promotions, thank you very much for your sponsorship and continued support, Tony and Baz. And obviously, who's the other one? Can you remember? Look at him. He'll do out. I'll tell you what, he's absolutely shameless.
Oh, this?
He's
this
shameless.
is just like...
shameless.
This is casual wear.
When is the bet?
So look, Teesside Travel, but which one sold out now?
Blackburn
Sold out
today.
Sold out. We're trying to find a
Totally
coach.
sold out.
So look, let's have a look at Boro versus Bolton. Like I say, I was there. Great trip down on another sold out
trip.
trip.
The annoying thing, he always gets the good games. I've done the league games, lost horrendously. He's done the cup games that we both expected to be out round one, and he's had like 6 goals.
Yeah, you can't beat it. You can't beat it with a cup action.
Do you pick and choose, do you?
Yeah, well, we've got no. So look, Bolton 1, Boro 3. I didn't think that in the first half, by the way. When now Dion Charles scored for Bolton after 23 minutes. Was it a game of 2 halves, Bolton? I know it's a cliche.
It was a classic game of 2 hours, wasn't it? And even the people on the old Sky reports were saying this team's had a rocket up its backside. This team had been given the right talking to, and we did. We came out and we showed the extra quality that we had.
Yeah.
In reality, though, Yav, people that I've spoken to there said, is the gap in quality that big? What did you think?
Well, I hate to say it, that the players who came out second half may have just had that little bit more, been a bit more sharp, and been a bit more. But the first half, mate, I thought Bolton was the better side. In fact, I thought in all the all marks, I was thinking, oh no, I'm glad this is not on the telly, because we normally do that on the telly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm glad it's not on the telly. You know, first half, he scores. Now, don't get me wrong, Crooks, who I've sort of been a little bit negative towards Crooks. Look, I love him to bits. I won't lie to you. I said last week's show, the week before, he's a bit like George Friend, you know. He
must be watching, is he?
He's he is. Shut up. So yeah, look, I love him to bits, but we were talking off air before coming about players not fitting into the Carrick system. He is a prime example. No way would he's the experienced player I think Carrick's going on about, because he finds himself in them teams. But, and don't get me wrong, take nothing away from the goal, took it well.
Good goal, by the way.
Good goal. Done nothing else in the first half. Second half, he got took off. I know he was sort of hobbling. It looked like Robocop when he went off, the way he walked off. But you're absolutely bang on right, because second half, I was thinking, Barlassa, and we're going to come on to it. I know Michelle Bestford's come on and said something about me live there. I know Phil's going to do him in a minute, but Barlassa in the first half, I'm not joking, must have had his slippers on because he could not pass a ball. Comes out the second half, he's knocking balls about like Beckenbauer. And I'm thinking, is that the same player? I'm thinking we've swapped him. Barlasser. Then we fast forward to Saturday, doesn't even get on the bench.
But it's a worrying trend that though, isn't it? After you think that's a worrying trend that we sometimes take, and this is now repeated in a dozen games, we take until we go down before we come alive. We take until the second half.
Well, we've never been up in a game yet, have we? In any game.
How long has it been? Not this season.
Well, they actually got the stats wrong on BBC Tees, and we're not allowed to.
No, I just can't believe that BBC T's got something wrong.
Not the beat.
No, I'm not going to go mad all day now. You know, they were fantastic, but they actually did get the stats wrong because they said, oh, it's something like 9 games without a win. Well, actually, it's more.
Yeah.
It's actually 13 games, if you're going to be honest. That's without a win. I know there's a couple of draws in there, but still 13 games without a win, all right, after Saturday's debacle. Any other manager, if that was in a season now, and we know by history, Gibson had pulled the trigger. Done it with Wilder. You know, he's done it with Woodgate.
What's the difference though? Right, look at the pattern. The only difference was with Monk, Pulis became available and Monk had got up to no good, allegedly.
I'm glad you said that.
Allegedly.
Our solicitor's watching them Woodhouse.
Yeah. The solicitor's having panic attacks. But then the same thing happened. The same thing happened in we wanted Woodgate, and then Warnock became available, and Warnock was given a bit of extra time because he was going to hang on for a little bit longer, and then Wilder became available. So the only real reason I think for me that Gibson has pulled the trigger sooner than we would have thought is because someone else became available. Now Carrick might have that luxury that no one else becomes available or no one else fancies the blooming job.
I think that's
which
quite
might be the
possibly,
thing
that we're at the minute.
Let's have a look at the old social medias. Who's watching? Let's give them all a shout out.
Paul Burke says apologies for the absence.
Oh, Paul, we haven't told him you're not here yet. He just dropped us right in it there.
Surprise!
Yeah, we'll tell you about Paul in a minute.
Eddie Fearon's watching, Kirsty Lee's watching, Al Fletcher's watching, Ibrahim Tanner's watching, Michelle Bestford, Nathan Rose, Rebecca Conlon, Tashi Snelson, Jordan Stott, all watching. There's a couple of comments.
Come on then. Have you been awake all day, lad?
since half 5.
I'm going to ignore that Michelle Bestford one for the time being.
Good evening, Michelle.
Ibrahim Tanner says the second half we look much better than them. We seem to be in some between division void.
That's a very good point. Who says that?
Ibrahim.
He always speaks sense.
Always speaks sense. I was trying to have a look, trying to find him.
Apart from every other week.
I was trying to find him at Bolton. But he's absolutely right, because I was just going to come on to this next bit, are our young players that inexperienced that League One players can near enough play them out the game? I don't mean skill-wise. They are, the likes of Rodgers, O'Neill, Greenwood, all these young Gilbert, all these players, skill-wise, they are by a country mile better footballers.
You don't come from
as individuals. However, then that inexperience going into a championship side to go to play the likes of Huddersfield in the first round of the cup, and then down at Bolton, we struggle. We're struggling in championship games as well with it, and I just think that then inexperienced lads are showing now. Now look, we might be sat here after Christmas going, at least it showed then, and look what we're doing now. I'm touching a lot of wood there. Or
easy.
Easy. Or we could be here 5 games from the end saying we need to win 2 to stay up. With them still inexperienced players. That's me worry.
If you were in charge, you've been a coach. If you were in charge of a team a division below,
and I kicked a few quacks. That's what I would do.
You knew that you were going to play a team who have got a very inexperienced, young and new squad. What's the first thing you tell them to do? You tell them to get in amongst them. Put the best performance in you can put in. Put the hard work in. Get them early.
Tackle hard, win easy. There's your hard thing. Young kids don't see that. Young kids of today don't see that. But an old seasoned pro tackles hard. And what I mean by tackles hard, I'm not saying foul, by the way.
No.
What I'm saying is he knows he's in a game from minute 1, that young kid.
Remember last week we talked about, was it last week? I was here last or the week before last. We talked about who were the managers who've outfoxed Carrick in recent weeks, going back to the Stoke game.
Stoke game was the first
Alex
one.
Neil.
Robbins, Neil, Coburn.
In Ainsworth.
Coburn.
And Millwall.
Every team
Gary Rowett.
Every team that we've played so far this season.
Exactly, but the one common denominator is they might only be as good as the players we've got, they're seasoned, they're switched on, they've got a way of playing football. They all seem to have that little bit of what we have not yet got.
You said earlier on, Mark, that your worry is that Carrick doesn't have the players to play his system.
Yeah. Inexperienced players to play that
my
system.
My worry is that Carrick doesn't know his system.
I made a comment a few weeks ago on that there Andy's Bloomers a few weeks back, on the thing that they do.
On the other one.
That has, and it was a theoretical, hypothetical question, has Carrick been found out a little?
Well,
I think you just said a similar thing.
Look, what do you think? Give us a message. My answer to that is, look, he's very Alex Ferguson-ish. He's very stubborn, Carrick. He's never once changed that system.
No.
He's changed the personnel. He's never changed the system. He's never looked at it and thought, I mean, let's be honest. We chatted about it earlier on. We haven't got the wing backs like we had before. They're non-existent. But it's still the same shape. It's just that we don't get up high enough. That Engel, look, I'm on the fence with him. I know he's brand new and he's got to bed in. I'll give him all the time in the world. He's got to bed in. He's got to do that. But I'm telling you now, I read some comments in, had a great first start in his Huddersfield game. He won one header. He won one header against Huddersfield. If that's a great start in the Championship,
but something to build on, isn't it?
And then going forward, people say, well, he's not bad going forward, but can't defend. We had a guy called Giles that went for $5 million at Luton, who done that. Because if he could defend, mate, he'd have been at a Premier League club still now. He'd have still been at his normal Premier League. He wouldn't have been away. He wouldn't have been at us on loan if he could defend. Yes, great going forward. But Engel, I look at it now and I think, very negative. Picks the ball up, looks for the goalkeeper. Is that something they're getting asked to do? I've said that about Dale Fry. Picks the ball, looks for the goalkeeper. Is that something they're getting asked to do?
The thing is with Engel, right? Well, he's a young lad. It's probably his first proper move away from home for a prolonged period of time. Ideally, Engel is the type of player that you wanted in at the start of the window, not the end of the window.
Like Gilbert,
like pre-season.
We use a lot of him, aren't we?
Yeah, you wanted him in pre-season to bed him in and get him used to and up to the physicality and the speed of the English game. He's only been here a week, and he's played 2 or 3 games.
He's already been identified as a weak link.
Well,
they targeted him. That guy who scored, that guy on the right hand side, I forget his name.
Are we talking about QPR, are you?
Sorry,
we are jumping ahead, but you are right.
He was identified.
They kept pumping the ball in the second half to that side all now. Let's not jump ahead because that second half, where we've knocked them down, we have to bring them up a bit because Bolton, second half, for me, I thought this is it. And I've done a live, and Michelle's thingy to it, I've done a live. I didn't expect him to score when I was doing a live, but I thought, I didn't go live at half time because I thought, this is terrible. What am I going to say? The first half was rubbish. What shall I say? Let's hope the second half's better. They'll have been saying that on Sky. Yeah. Do you know, some idiot sat in the box somewhere, and I thought, I can't even go on and do it because there wasn't a positive in the first half. I was thinking, I know Crooks scored the goal. I could have come on and went, great chip from Crooks, but the rest else was crap. Is that what they want me to say? I thought, I'll leave it. I'll see how we bed into the game and I'll do a live, knowing that Phil always shouts at me, never show the football, you'll get us to court, never show the football, which I didn't. So I done the live, which Michelle's on about.
The steward stood behind you though.
The steward
stood there and he kept looking over.
Yeah, the steward's look, I got him.
Turned around on his walkie-talkie, has a look back at you. Yeah.
He was digging Chris Kamara, wasn't it? And there's been a goal at the Reebok Stadium. Has that?
He thinks he's filming the game.
Has that?
Look, I'm up there with the technology now. But anyway, the second half for me, Barlasser, I know Rodgers gets all the acclaim and McGree for coming on and doing what they did. Yes, let's talk about them. But when Barlasser is dictating the centre of the park like he was in the second half against Bolton and spraying them balls left and right, that's what we need to do, because where I think we've been found out, and I'm not having this Carrick's being found out, because you've got Michael Carrick, played all his football at the highest level. You've got Jonathan Woodgate, let's be honest, played his football at the highest level.
The real highest level.
Well, yeah. And they haven't got the nous to change what's going on at the Boro. I'm not having it. There's enough experience on there. I heard people saying, bring another number 2 in. What's you going to do? It's just another opinion. It's another opinion. If I'm the gaffer, I'll take your opinion on board, I'll take your on board. If I want to do what I want to do, well, that's what I'm paid for. I'm paid to listen to your opinions and make the decision.
Yeah.
So I understand where he's coming from, and I do not think he's run out of ideas. What I do think is, I think we've got a lot of inexperienced players. Second half of Bolton shows that if they did have a rocket in the dressing room, we don't know what Carrick's like in the dressing room. You know, it might be Woodgate doing all the shouting. It could be the other coaches doing all the shouting. That's how he might do it. He might be the Mr. Nice Guy.
I can't imagine a bit being quiet, like, can you?
But the problem is, he's very, very Alex Ferguson-esque, and we know that he spends a lot of time with Ferguson at Man United. Every time the Boro don't have a game and United are in Europe or anything like that, he's down there with Ferguson, sat with him. So I think he has that mould of saying, well, no, it's my way or no way. Lovely, but are them your signings to say my way or no way? We've just mentioned Gilbert. I'm jumping ahead, Anna, but we've just mentioned Gilbert. We've just mentioned the likes of Barlaser. Barlaser came in 3 days after Carrick was appointed. There's no way he had anything to do with Barlaser's signing.
Yeah.
Unless they've been on the phone to Michael Carrick a week before saying, what do you think about him, like?
But if you've got Barlaser that second half against Bolton, playing the way that you're describing, right? Why is Carrick then changing that the following game?
Well, you made a great comment that with the buoyancy and the winning mentality of having come back and won the game, why doesn't the team that ended start?
Yeah. But that would, for me,
you don't change the team.
You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Because, and again, look, I'll bow to Michael Carrick and Jonathan Woodgate's knowledge of football, but it doesn't take the brains of an Archbishop to think, I finished with that team on a high. Fans are shouting our names because we've gone from that to that, and all I've done was give him a rocket and brought them 2 lads on. And suddenly we were opening gaps. I'm well aware they're a League One side, Bolton. They were trying to press us high in the first half, and that's what killed us, by the way. It's what kills us when team, and you identified it, Adam, goes right back to Stoke.
It does.
When you have teams pressing us high, we can't play the system that Carrick wants us to play. I'd have a plan B. I'd have a plan B and say, well, if we're going to revert that, well, I'm not going to go on to Q. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I said at half time to the brother-in-law at QPR after this. Any more comments on there, Phil, before I start chuntering on?
Where is it? There it is. Paul Burke says, I knew this would be a tricky start of the league. Blackburn away, I'm sure you'll see an improved performance for the full 90 minutes after the international break. Just 9 minutes improvement.
Yeah.
I'd be happy with. Stuart Gawley, the realist out of all of us, says, evening, this is not new for the Boro, take it from me. Been there and seen it all before.
We're all of an age, of a vintage that has felt that pain in the past too.
The club of Paul Burke's come back on and says, allegedly, the club have realised Engel is not the player they expected. Bangura will be the starter come the Blackburn game with Engel as backup. Eddie Fearon says, are we judging Carrick on last season? I'm not convinced he's got the players he wanted. We had a chat about that.
To be fair, Eddie, it's all we can judge him on, innit?
Do you know when you look at it, and you both made good points there. Has Carrick signed all of these players? Are these the players he wanted? We will never know that, but
we'll never know
we can only look at the team and look at the players, and they don't fit the style of play necessarily. And the only conclusion we can draw as outsiders is they're not his signings.
Do you think you know that they're not? Because how do you go from like Giles and Archer and Ramsey to unknown players?
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Ibrahim Tanner finally says, for me, when we move off the ball, we look a different side. When it's just looking up to play balls into channels, we look poor. The Rodgers goal was quick, energetic, and packed with little runs. And I think that's a great point again from Ibrahim, because the games that we've seen and the chances that we've had have come from quick phases of play where we're looking to get the ball forward and catch the opposition on the back foot. Yeah, we've not scored, and Latty Laugh's missed a couple of sitters. Morgan Rodgers at Coventry missed 3 or 4.
Silvera's missed sitters.
When we stop and because I've said this before, when the opposition have the ball, we're very slow to close them down and try and break up movement.
There's a fascinating stat. Phil has just absolutely nailed something there.
Well, I was going to bring some out
pressing off the ball. Stat. I didn't even know it existed, and I saw it the other day. We had the 7th worst at pressing off the ball. Last season, we were the 2nd best.
Yeah, so when we come on to QPR, remind me of that, because I've got something to say about that.
What it is, when we have the ball, everything we've come up against have closed us down and stopped us passing almost instantaneously. When we're closing the opposition, we're not. We're stood off them. We're letting them look for the pass. We're letting them put a ball across them. We're not doing what we did really well. We had Archer and Ramsey who were like
sharp,
ridiculously fast. We don't have that, but
we do. We just have inexperienced players trying to do that. Yeah. This goes back to the original point. So do I think Latty Laugh is a replacement for Archer? Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
He is Archer's replacement. Yeah. Have we got a replacement for Akpom yet? No. No. So Latty Laugh coming deep to try and win the ball is going back to the Negredo days, where he's trying to head of the ball and run onto it himself to try and win. That's no good for us, So and I will say it, the second half at Bolton, the fans, well, you've seen it in the live, you've seen what they were like. It was like back to the old away games, like where we'd come from 1-0 down, and it was great. So let's go straight on with then. Look, just to let you know, you probably all know, but Boro are going to be away to Bradford in the next round of the Cup, which will be, probably similar. Really, same type of football we're going to watch. They're going to press us high, a bit like Huddersfield did away in the Cup, a bit like Bolton did. And like I say, when the press is high, we can get that quick football what Rodgers and McGree done for the goal. Ibrahim's absolutely bang on right. They were that knackered, Bolton, by that time of the game. They were sitting back and back and back. We were very high, going back to last season, how Carrick had us playing. We were high, as you like. Well, that means the midfielders had more time on the ball to put, and that's why Barlaser looked better, pumping the ball about. We can still force that as players. Does it take us to go 1-0 down and sit back? Why aren't we forcing that? Carrick must be telling them not to sit back. Because as soon as you sit back and get overrun in the midfield, you see what happens at QPR. Simple as that. See how Uncle Lincoln comes into QPR there.
Very good, that.
Do you know you mentioned Bradford?
Yeah.
Did you know Teesside Travel are sending a coach?
Are they?
I just wanted to get it in there before anybody else tries to.
We've
got a coach going.
Absolutely shameless. He's shameless. So look,
have you guys got something to do with Teesside Travel?
No, one of us has apparently.
Buy some shares if you want.
QPR, come here and look. I won't lie, I was saying to people all week last week, there'll be rumblings if we get beat against QPR.
I thought we'd comfortably win that game.
I thought with the Bolton, the second half in Bolton, I thought we were going to go into QPR, and I was saying to the lads on the way down to the match, a couple of lads I walked with, there's a couple of lads told me to give you a big hello as well, who would have met in the concourse, and I forgot your names. But anyway, hello. Sorry, but hello. But I was walking down with a couple of lads, and I said, look, I'm saying 2 or 3-0 at the Borough. I think we're going to start like we did against Bolton, and it didn't. And I want to keep that point in my head to start with, Phil, about being slow. We were 0-0 at home. Ball goes back to our goalkeeper, and I don't know whether anyone's seen it.
The glasses have gone on this.
This is serious, yeah.
But Dieng then starts playing with the ball from like the byline up to the edge of the box. No, they're not going to close him down. They're sat rigid. QPR, like Ainsworth always has, are very disciplined. They haven't got the players to do anything different. Very disciplined, sat in, and he's like to the point where it's 0-0, and you can hear the rumbling in the crowd. The fans are going, "Well, what are you doing?" We're not watching Man United here, not Tottenham.
And they didn't want to press us because they were obviously aware that that's when we're at our best.
That's the gaps threat, isn't it?
So they just said, go on then.
See, the only thing, and again, because I don't want to slate the Borough, the only thing I can think about for that, fellas, and I'll ask you your opinion here, is he trying to draw a player out by keeping all the ball? But to the point where he got to the edge of the box and thought, well, I can't go any further, really.
Well, I think so.
He must be trying to draw a player out.
Yeah. But what does that achieve? Because you're not going to get a defender run up the pitch to close him down. It's going to be your striker. And as soon as that striker comes to you, you're hoofing the ball over the top of the striker, over the midfielders, because you're trying to hit the target man up front. So by Seny Dieng trying to draw a player out that's not going to be involved directly in the next phase of play, what are you trying to achieve with that? So it's not going to lead to anything.
So, do the social medias, and I'll tell you the little bit I spoke about very short, because I don't want to lose it, because it's in the end, and if I lose it, I'll just go on to something else.
He's been picking this up now, it better be good.
Stuart Gordon says, Boro didn't sign any of the first choice targets for me, then left flapping in the wind like a flag.
Well, like it's Stewie, lad.
Michelle Besford says, can we talk about McGree? I saw so many fans going berserk that he didn't start against QPR, and heard one fan during the BBCT's commentary shouting to Carrick, telling him to get him on.
I think, personally, he's one of the most naturally talented footballers we have. I think he's proven time and time again that he does that job we've just been talking about of linking things up, little short, quick movements. I genuinely don't see what is happening in training that means he's not getting a game.
Well, I said this last week to you. What's he doing so well?
What my thought is it, and I hate to say it because I've made the point. What my thought is, Michelle, is he the most best? Is he Boro's best player, or is someone like Morgan Rogers or Greenwood or I think you'll find O'Brien is going to be playing centre midfield all the time, by the way. But anyway, are they naturally gifted players? What I will say, what Michelle's point is, great point is, he's the most experienced at the Championship, what we've got now. So why isn't he playing?
Yeah.
He played all them Championship games last year when we were wiping teams away, boff, and now he's sat on the bench. So yes, I heard people saying that on BBC Tees, by the way. Oh, he's the best player we've got. I'm not having he's the best player. What I will say is he's more experienced than the lads he's got on. Morgan Rogers, more experienced than him.
He obviously fancies Rogers because he's played every minute of pre-season and every game.
I've got a feeling Morgan Rogers is probably his signing, you know.
It might be the only one. And he's really fancy.
See, I agree with you to a point about McGree, but what I will say is, when you hear people say he's the best player that we've got, I genuinely don't think what they mean is that he is hands down the best player at the club. I think what they're saying is, when you see McGree come on the pitch, whether he's starting or whether he's coming on from the bench, he, without a doubt, he offers something that we didn't have prior to that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He will always, and I know he's really frustrating because he can trap the ball and turn really well, and then his next pass goes to straight the opposition, and it is frustrating. But it's also, I can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to force a passage of plays. He's trying to move the ball forward into a position where, in training, somebody is stood waiting to receive the ball, but for whatever reason on the pitch on match day, they're not in that position.
Probably marked out, Phil, which is the point I want to come on to.
So, he is. I genuinely think McGree is probably. I think he is the best player that we've got right now. I'm not going to comment on Silveri because we haven't seen him enough. Rogers.
He was woeful.
We've not seen him.
Let's be honest. We bigged Silvera up when he's done really well, and you've got to take the criticism.
We've all been excited by him.
You've got to take the criticism as a footballer. I'm not saying anyone particularly done well against QPR, but Silvera, how Isaiah Jones got the nod to come off and not him, leads me to think that probably Silvera and Rogers are probably the only two players he signed. Mm-hmm. But my point I want to make is that point of them pressing us high. And this goes into the McGree thing as well. Why it's different when he comes on. We go a bit more direct when he comes on. What we used to do last year when everything was going right is the two centre halves used to split, which opened it up because the rest of the players used to split. And it used to come into Hackney or Howson, 10, out to the wide men, attacking.
Yeah.
What we've got now is, there's not a team in the Championship yet this season what's come to Riverside or in the Cup. So people are doing their own works. The two centre-halves have stopped splitting. And the reason being is, no one presses them. No. So what they do is, they don't split because they know our problem is, if we just keep the midfielders there, you can let Lenihan and Dale Fry have the ball. Because they're particularly not going. And I hate to say this because I know...
They're not footballers.
They're not footballers.
No.
They're defenders.
Yeah.
So, let them have it. So you've got managers like Ainsworth going, Let him have that ball all day long. And let him roll that ball out with him all day long. What I don't want is Howson or Hackney getting it straight off the bat.
The opposite effect happens, you're absolutely right. So where you split the two centre-halves and the two midfielders drop and create the width so the two full-backs can get forward, or at least one of them could, in Giles or Smith, we're now leaving two centre-halves there and the two midfielders come who are under pressure. Suddenly we've got 4 players taking out the game.
Exactly.
We've suddenly then not got the width. But Dana was on a few weeks ago, and she was making a comment on a chat the other night, and she was saying a very similar thing to what you just said, that somehow we've gone from having, you split the team and you suddenly find 5 forward players. Our 2 fullbacks now the furthest back players.
So where is that happening? We haven't gone to do that. Other teams are making us do that.
And because we haven't got the quality...
League One teams are making us do that as well.
And because we haven't got the quality of Tuba and we haven't got the quality of Giles who can move things around... how many times did I hear around me on Saturday, Morgan, want the ball?
Yeah, well...
Morgan Rogers, come and get the ball, come and make a space.
I told you just before we came on air there was one time I sit behind the goal, near enough behind the goal, north-east corner, whatever it is, with little young Jesse. And Dieng has the ball, puts the ball on the floor, and I can see he's trying to put it long, he's going to put it either to one of to what I would call wingers or wing-backs, whatever you want to call them. He's trying to put it long. You've then got the 2 centre-halves there, Lenihan and Dale Fry, don't move, they're just in front of him. And you've got Howson screaming at him, give it to me, give it to me. He then kicks it straight at Howson, who turns, realises there's a man there, kicks the pass where he thinks he wants it to go, goes straight there to the centre midfielder. We're on the back foot straight away. That's the difference from this season to last season. What I would then say is, Mr. Carrick, where's your plan B?
Yeah.
Because it's not working. When you've got League One teams thinging us out like that, we can try and split them maybe, but no one's going to no one's going to come out to take them on because they just think, just keep it. Just keep it.
What we don't know though is that we don't know is Carrick trying to change the formation a little to suit the players we've got. Because sometimes if you're a coach, you have to look at what you've got and think, right, I can't play how I did before. I haven't got the mobility in midfield. I haven't got the dynamism from my centre backs anymore. And sometimes you have to change. So we've got a number. You know, sometimes people talk about the perfect storm, which is almost what we had last season going the other way. We've almost got the perfect storm of everything you could imagine that could go wrong is going wrong. The players have lost confidence. With the plan A that we used to have doesn't work because the players aren't suited. They don't look like they want the ball. So there's a lot of factors causing us a headache at the moment.
And another observation on that, you're absolutely bang on, is where is the character of Lenihan from last season?
Yeah, he doesn't shout.
Where is that?
Yeah.
Tommy Smith came on West Brom for 49 minutes before he got sent off. He was the loudest defender on the pitch and he's not played for God knows how long. But whenever Dale Fry or Lenihan weren't in the position they should have been in or weren't doing what they should have been doing, Smith was there screaming, throwing his arms at them, asking them what they're doing and why they're not. We don't have that. Like, I struggle to see. Dale Fry has been club captain of Boro for a long time. He's had the armband on a number of occasions. He's a club captain.
But he is a confidence player in Fry, isn't he?
But Lenihan though, where was that? Where have those voices gone? Where is that leadership, it's experience?
It's easy to be a loud leader. Sometimes when you're winning games and everything's working and you're in it and you're in the zone, sometimes the thing you miss the most is the leaders by example. And we had 4 or 5 of them last season. They all wanted the ball. They all wanted it under pressure. And I think the minute you take 2 or 3 of those natural playing leaders who take responsibility, the other leaders think, oh my word, it's all on me. It's everything's not right.
I mean, we're screaming out. Let's be honest, we're screaming out. We never replaced Akpom, and what I mean by Akpom is, I don't mean replacing with a player who's going to get us 29 goals. What I mean is, we haven't replaced that player who sits behind the front man. If we say Latte Lath is the Archer evolution, that's why we bought him. He's Archer's replacement.
Yeah, he's a runner.
He's the runner, and he wants the ball forward. He's always going to go forward. We haven't found that guy who wants the ball slammed into his feet. He'll either take a knock and go down to the free kick, or he'll do that little turn he used to do, and he'll find the wide men to make that space.
And is that...
We haven't found... Don't tell me we haven't got a young kid at the club doing that for the 23s, the 19s. There must be.
But is that why Rodgers is running the team that he is? Because Carrick wants him to be the new Tuba. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe the problem is we're not going to play that same way with those 3 in midfield.
So do we give Rodgers more time then? But why doesn't someone come up and tell us that?
We touched on O'Brien, and I thought O'Brien was one of the best players I'd seen in the Championship when he was at Huddersfield. For me, he's a different kind of midfielder, and to me, he breaks that midfield up. And he becomes the player that gets the ball and makes things happen in the middle of the park. Kind of like what Ledbetter used to do, or someone of that ilk, or George Boateng would do. He had a bit of everything about him, and up and down.
Yeah.
At the moment, we're playing with two midfielders who hold it and act as the link. We could if you're going to make someone of that quality get in the team, you have to almost change the way you play. And I think that's where we are. We're in a position where the players don't fit the old system.
Yeah.
I would very much. Sorry, I would very much like to see.
A win.
Hackney and Howson dropped in favour of
O'Brien
and Barlaser.
Yeah.
Well,
because
I think you'll find O'Brien will be a mainstay.
I think he will.
Yeah, I do, but I just think our midfield has been a problem for a couple of years. We got lucky last year with how well Hackney came into the squad and adapted to the game and played out of his socks. We haven't seen that same Hackney this year. I know he scored one goal.
Talking about Lewis O'Brien and Sam Greenwood, before I go on to the comments Carrick made to BBC Tees on Saturday after the QPR game. Obviously, Lewis O'Brien, let's start with him. Obviously, both got to throw on at the deep end, or probably to Barlas's surprise, after having the second half he did at Bolton. But Lewis O'Brien, if you don't know, he's on a season-long loan from Nottingham Forest. Midfielder, 24 years old. Now, he's probably the most experienced one out of the two bringing in.
Yeah.
Played a lot of games. I think is he the one who was at DC United for a little bit, and that was only just to get fitness up or something like that. They sent him out there to play with Rooney.
He couldn't get in the 25-man squad after Forest went on that mad spending spree of bringing in 172 players.
And by all accounts, I think Rooney has loads of good stuff to say about him. Loved him. And then obviously Sam Greenwood, which nearly knocked me off my feet when I seen that we'd signed Greenwood, and I was thinking, we've only just said that we don't want him. But anyway, season-long loan from Leeds. Attacking midfielder, didn't look like that. Again, is it the system? But he didn't look like an attacking midfielder when he came on, to me. But he's only 21 years old. Again, fits the Carrick profile that he told us. Want all these young players, which is great. But a couple of comments he did say...
I forgot to mention the fullback.
Can I just stop, because our friends at We Are Luton Town are watching. Good evening. I put a comment on their page about Giles a couple of weeks ago to say that
Good luck.
Good luck. Get it, done well for us. We nearly got there, but good luck to them, and But it's good to see them that they're watching our show as well. So good luck to you lads down at Luton Town. Good that you're watching us up here in the old us Northern Monkeys. But Carrick said on BBC about QPR, he said maybe the break, and I think Stu Gordon's coming about the break there. It just sort of fits in well, Stu. Maybe the break has come at the right time. We can have a fresh start and do things we know we're capable of doing. What I would say that, and super producer Courtney has put it in big bold letters for me, 4 games into the season, why should we need one? Why should we need a break? Isn't this what pre-season's about?
I know, but if we can give Carrick a bit of a break, how many players have come in long after the pre-season? There's some of those players there could really do with some time on the training pitch.
I mean, we'll have some away for international duty, won't we? Paddy McNair will be away.
All 3 of the Australians have gone.
All the Australians have gone. So, look, and let's be honest, McGree came back from the World Cup. He was a different player to me. But anyway, he said, I'm here with half a smile because we have created and looked dangerous, but came away with nothing. I don't think we look dangerous at QPR. And look, I know, he's a gaffer. He's going to look after these players. He's not going to throw them under the bus. I don't think he's that type of gaffer.
No.
Ten Hag's done that today with the young fella.
Yeah.
80 million quid and
Sancho
and threw him under the bus today. So I don't think he's that type of... I wouldn't expect him to say anything else, really.
Well, I know. I did think during the game that their goalkeeper had a good game. And I couldn't believe how good he was. And it racked my brain to work out who it was. And then I saw him afterwards. It was Begovic.
Yeah.
And he is a quality goalkeeper.
Yeah,
and he did spread himself well for 2 of...
I was chatting to the guys in the stand at half-time about it. I was going, is that big? He must be 60 years old, I was saying.
I'd have him in our team, though. He was class. So we did. I mean, the stats. If you look at those stats, I say you've got them written down. 62%
Yeah.
possession.
The stats we have. Yeah, that's what some produce it. So our match stats. I mean, you look at these match stats and you think we'd won the game.
Yeah.
62% possession, 62% Boro, 38% QPR. Boro had 16 shots, QPR had 11. Boro had 9 shots on target, QPR had 3.
Yeah.
Corners we had 7, QPR had 5, and we only had 9 fouls, and QPR had 11.
So you know, their first goal was an absolute worldie.
Yeah, that was.
I actually thought it took a deflection.
So did I at first.
But it didn't when I seen it back.
Nobody in the stadium expected that to fly.
No,
I thought it had come out.
No.
The angle it hit the post and the way it spun, I thought it had gone out. I didn't.
I watched that and I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, you can't sit there and go, oh, for God's sake. It was just it's one of those goals where if we were doing well and they'd scored that, we would all be sat applauding it.
Does an O'Brien, an energetic Brian Robson-esque up and down, does he close him down harder? Does he stop him? You mentioned about us giving him room and being pressed.
3 or 4 games in, he might.
3 or 4 games in, he
3
might
or
have
4
had
games
that.
in, yeah.
We've looked. You've got to close that down. We've started the season and conceded some horrendous goals from similar positions
Because we haven't pressed them.
So for me, if I'm Carrick and I'm talking to the defenders and these defensive midfielders, I'm saying to them, I don't care what else is going on. Those shots can't happen.
No.
That's the first thing we need to sort out.
What we do have to say, I think as fans here about that first goal, we've been a bit overcritical because it is a world.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
I mean, that's left his foot and he knows it's going in.
He's the only person in the world that knew that was going in.
That's left
because nobody in the stadium did. Nobody did.
And unfortunately, you've got to be able to bounce back from it. And again, I hate to go back to this inexperienced type player. But how do you? Because a young lad goes, deflated straight away.
If you're on a run of games where you're struggling and the lads individually are struggling, they're not quite finding their positions, the passes aren't coming off. A worldie like that goes in, you sure.
This is why I cannot stand anymore that possession stat.
Yeah.
Who dominated the game?
I don't want to know.
Because 62% possession got beat 2-0. Who dominated the game?
I only remember them having loads of chances down the wings.
Well, it was going back to what we said we weren't going to talk about until we got the QPR. It was Engel won it. Let's be honest. Ainsworth had identified that he was the weak link. Kept pumping that ball over the top of his head all the time, making him run. Eventually, he doesn't go past the halfway line.
Yeah.
Engel just thinks him down. And the big point I want to talk about, and this was what I was talking to the lads about at half time on the concourse. Sometimes in games of football, and this is where again the inexperience comes in, sometimes in games of football you just got to turn the ball around. Sometimes you just got to say, the pressing is really high, we're soaking it up, we're going to make mistakes. Dale Fry just needs to put it in the corner and let the young lads chase it.
Let me ask you a question then, right? We're 2-0 down. You see Josh Coburn's getting changed. For me, my first thought is yes, let's get the ball to Josh, let's see what he'll laugh and maybe someone with him can do.
Yeah.
Why is that substitution happening?
Well, it's a like-for-like substitution.
Why is that happening? Why are we not really going at putting 2 in the box?
We've actually answered that question, Adam.
One off the other.
Because there's no plan B. Or there wasn't against QPR. Let's say there isn't a plan B. My plan B there would have been, look, we hate to call on Wilder, but let's have a look at what Wilder used to do.
Yeah.
He used to throw the kitchen sink. If he was getting beat 1-0 Wilder 70 minutes to go, he'd bring another 2 strikers on. Because and then he can come out in the press conference at the end and go, we got beat 2-0, but at 1-0 down, I threw the kitchen sink at them in the quarters on the break. Bang.
We didn't. We had 62% knocking it around.
We changed a forward for a forward, a midfielder for a midfielder.
Yeah.
And the plan didn't change. Just the personnel.
And that's why I'm asking the question. 62% possession. Who dominated the game?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't us. We got beat 2-0. How do you dominate a game but get beat 2-0?
Phil, give us a social medias, mate, before we go on the final part. Because I'll tell you now, I'm going to go home and kick the dog here.
Stuart Gawley says 2 weeks off, time to sort this out, come back firing. Michelle Bestwood said, Tuba was different type of person though. He was one of the leaders, like Adam said. He did a lot of studying and thinking about how he could almost improve himself and others. I remember him saying that in an interview.
Can I just make I agree with that, and can I make a point? That's a very good point. Carrick was very bold and brave making that decision. We almost needed his 2-week break for Carrick to be that brave and bold and say, this is how I think we need to play, boys.
Yeah.
that same level of...
Look, I think she's bang on right, because two things. Chuba had to do that because under two of the managers, they weren't having him.
And he wasn't going anywhere with
He was going nowhere with the Boro.
Yeah.
Carrick come in, put his arm round him and said, this is how I want you to play. And it worked, Michelle. And it worked. And it's got him a big move. It's got the lad a big move. But what I will say is, Warnock said that in his interview that it was probably only Carrick could have got that out of him. He almost admitted that I couldn't because I didn't believe in him. As a manager, Warnock didn't believe in him. So,
Eddie Fearon...
Eddie Nico, but yeah, he's on Eddie Fearon on there.
Agrees with me and says dropping players is a great shout. Stuart Gawley says only stats that count are goals. Ibrahim Tanner says, what about Engels throwing? And let's remember...
3 foul throws I've seen from him.
We were a big scalp and teams up their effort too. We need to do the same.
Well, I'll tell you now, and I said it to the lads I was walking back with from the game, I don't think QPR will go away from home this season and score 2 goals.
No.
There you go, you heard that here first. I don't think QPR will win away from home 2. They might get the odd 1-0, they'll get the draws. They weren't even set up to beat us.
Gareth Haynes was
They were set up for a draw.
The way he said, we might be the surprise package if we keep doing that. He's just made an absolute farce of himself.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that ever again, mate.
You're never
a
ever gonna
surprise
do it.
package in that one game because we were terrible.
We were terrible. That game was set up for a draw. He went there to get a draw.
Yeah.
A bit like Warnock did when he came up here. He got a draw. As soon as they go 1-0 up, they don't send anyone. They don't send anyone over the halfway line.
Well, Ibrahim's right there though. We are a big scalp, considering how we played last season, the amount of goals we scored, the amount of games that we won by a considerable margin, the fact that we were in the playoffs. As much, Sunderland and Leeds will say Middlesbrough aren't a big club. Every other club in the Championship will be saying Middlesbrough's a massive team to go and get 3 points.
I just want to quickly go what Ibrahim's put on. He said tippy tappy passing with no cutting edge. I sort of agree with it,
Yeah.
but what I will say to you is, Ibrahim, that tippy tappy football last year when it was working, bang bang, little triangles. It was like watching Brazil.
But it was purposeful, that's the difference.
And it's just not working with the personnel we've got at the minute. I wouldn't change that because we are a good... The stats... That's where the stats don't lie. We are a good footballing side. Problem is, we haven't got... In my opinion, it's only my humble opinion, we haven't got the experienced players when things don't go right, and we haven't got a plan B at the moment.
What you've got to remember is, this tippy-tappy, quick-pass football, yeah, of course it works. When you've got a bunch of players that understand what it's about and how to do it. Let's not forget, before we brought Archer and Ramsey in, before October when Carrick took over, we weren't able to do that. We were only able to achieve that type of football with the players that came into the
We
club.
have got 10 minutes left of the show now on. Probably a bit less because we did start a little bit later. It was Phil's fault. And Adam needs a wee. So, Martin Piero goes out. Best of luck to Martin. I think you said it on transfer deadline day here, Phil. It just hadn't worked for him. Goes to Udinese. No fee involved. What I think's happened there is, I think the Borough have said to Udinese, look, pay his contract up, give the lad the money as a signing on
And I
fee.
think it also sounds like we only paid 2.9 million for him because of that 6 million was made up of performances, bonuses,
add-ons, yeah.
and add-ons.
Now look, do I go into the Football Finance Expert podcast, which producer Courtney has delved into the past to talk about Mr. Gibson
We might have to save that for
and the financial fair play. If I go into that,
it's another hour.
I'm telling you now, this will go berserko and we could talk. But what I will do is, we are going to talk about that next week. It's an international break, so unless we see anything or hear anything, that's a great thing to talk about next week. A great thing to talk about next week. International call-ups. Congratulations to Aidan Hackney. Obviously, under-21s call-up. I think he deserves it, to be fair. I think he deserves it.
Has Hackney played in any of the other age groups for England? No, is this his first?
He's done Scotland.
Yeah,
he was called to Scotland,
Yeah, he was called to Scotland, yeah. Sammy Silvera, Tom Glover, Riley McGree. Obviously, them three have gone over to Australia. Transatlantic. And I think Paddy McNair will be going to play.
Senny de Jong's Sierra Leone. Or is it Senegal? I forget.
I think it's Senegal.
Senegal,
yeah.
I think he will be. We will lose him, won't we, for the...
Well, if his performances don't improve between the sticks, probably not.
It's a shame though that with the international, all these players are going out because we needed everyone here.
We need them there.
Yeah, you've lost half the starting squad there to the national team.
So Paul Beck's saying we got 2.5 back for Piero. The big G debate. I'll tell you what, Abraham. If I start that now, we could be here another hour. So I think that's great because we've got an international break next week.
Perfect subject.
It's a perfect subject to talk about, and it's an old article, but it absolutely is all about what I was talking about. It's relevant to the new players we brought in. It's relevant, and it goes back to the wilder days. But anyway, gentlemen, thank you very much, Phil. I know you've been rushing about all day, and you've got big up to the Regular Rock. Couldn't make it tonight because Naomi, his wife, is not very well. Naomi from all us here, get well soon. We hope you're back up and about on your feet very, very soon, and the Regular Rock will be back here shouting the stats at me. Phil, thank you very much. Adam, always a pleasure, mate.
Thanks, man.
Join us next week for this Boro Chat. You don't want to miss it. See ya.